Hey, sports fans! It's a big weekend, I guess. We got NBA All-Star. We've got PB's favorite event, the left turn only event, or the left turn invitational, Daytona 500, and pitchers catches report. Oh, by the way, are you going to watch the XFL? It starts today.
That's right, 3 o'clock, first game.
Oh, you know the time, so maybe you're going to watch.
Yeah, I think there's like 4 games this weekend. I don't know. If I'm just sitting around, I got to run some errands. If I'm just sitting around the house, I might throw it on just to see what it's all about. But
Okay. All right, PB, we're going to talk a little Super Bowl recap, a little post-mortem of the Super Bowl. We'll talk a little about the NBA trades. What's that mean for the finals and the conference finals? But I got a couple of hard-hitting questions for you. I want a little response. First of all, Celtics make Joe Mazzulla a permanent head coach. Is that a good move?
I mean, given the circumstances of what happened at the beginning of the year and you getting thrown into the whole mix like unexpectedly on short notice and where the team is, I don't see any problem with it.
I'm with you. By the way, I think he stops coaching with fear because now he has his job to keep. And guys like Peyton Pritchard, who should play more, will get time. So that's good. That's a good move. All right. Football question for you. Aaron Rodgers has gone to his darkness retreat. WTF, what is a darkness retreat? I have no clue.
Yeah, he's just a mystery man. That guy is out there, man.
All right, here's my question, though. Will he be a Packer when he comes out of his retreat?
It's a great question. Nothing would surprise me. Let's put it that way.
Well, he goes in the darkness, he comes to the light, and now he becomes a New York Jet, maybe.
He could be a Jet. He could be a Raider. Couple good landing spots for United with Devontae Adams, but I don't know. I really can't even comment because it's such a mystery. It's just like I have no idea where that guy's going to end up. He might even retire. Who knows?
Good point. Well, more to talk about in the future weeks. All right. Hey, speaking of the Raiders, though, they no longer have Derek Carr. They cut him loose. Is he a future Jet or a Saint? Where do you think he ends up?
I think he's more likely to land on the Saints.
I'm with you on that one as well. All right. Hey, Tiger's back. He's playing the Genesis this weekend. Does he have any shot, or is he going to be a kitten for the rest of his life?
There's just a lot of competition out there in the field now. I don't know. I don't foresee him winning another tournament on tour.
I was going to ask you that question. Okay. All right. Tiger never wins a major or any tournament for that matter is what you're saying, right?
I think with the level of maybe when he starts playing the senior circuit, maybe he'll win something. But
the Senior Open. That's not a bad idea. All right. Hey, MLB, as I said, pitchers and catch report. They introduced 6 pretty cool rules. Maybe not. Pitch clock, 15 seconds when no one on base, 20 seconds when there is someone on base. You okay with that?
Yeah, the game's got to get sped up somehow. I mean, I don't like introducing a clock into the game, and I wish the game was still played like it was in the past where you didn't need a clock and it would still move along. But given the cybermetrics of the game in today's world and the amount of time it takes to do everything, I can see why it's being implemented. So I like it for that sense, but I don't like it given the just history and culture of baseball.
That's a good point. There are no clocks in baseball. Good point, PB. I'm with you on that one. All right, the larger bases, they're larger by, I believe, 3 inches on each side. What do you think?
Yeah, why?
They're trying to get people to steal more. They think if you have 3 more inches to the base, you might be able to get in there a little earlier. I don't know. That was a little shaky to me as well. All right, here's the one I really love. Hang on, before I get to that one. Only 2 pickoff attempts. I believe it's per runner. You okay with that one?
Again, I mean, you're kind of taken away from the game as it's designed to be played. So
what I do like about that is here's what I think about that. Really, the pickoff attempts are only for relievers who didn't get enough warm-up time in the bullpen, and they start throwing pickoff attempts 3, 4, 5 in a row, right? So 2 pickoff attempts to me is pretty good, I think, at the end of the day. A cap, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see the game get played the way it's designed to get played. I mean, I'm all a fan about speeding the game up because I do agree that the length of the game now is taking away from some of the fan base. So if you can implement things to speed it up, that's great, which this will do. But again, if you got the leading base stealer on first base and you want to try to keep him close, why not be able to throw the ball over a couple times more
That's a
times?
good
You know?
point. I mean, I get that. But people don't steal as much anymore anyway. So, well, maybe with the 3 inches, who knows? All right, this is the one rule, and we've talked about this one, you and I, on this show a number of times, and finally it's happening. Infielders, you've got to have 2 infielders on both sides of the bag, and all 4 of them have to have a foot on the dirt. I personally like this rule a lot.
Yeah, I do as well, because again, it gets you back to the traditional way the game was designed to be played. Now, granted, I love when coaches and managers find ways to take advantage of a situation given the rules. I mean, Bill Belichick was famous for doing that as a head coach of the New England Patriots. The guy knew the rule book inside and out, and they started making rules in the NFL based on Belichick's ability to find ways around certain rules, right? Yep. So, but this has just become such a big part of the game and in these shifts. And what it's done is really taken away from people's averages. And I think they want to see those more hits, more averages get up, more runs get scored is one aspect of it. And the other one is obviously the length of time of the game. So if they can make those 2 things happen, I think you might gain some more fans.
Well, for sure, if you keep 2 players on each side of the infield and their feet on the dirt, you're going to see hits go up. So I'm for that. And the last one, position players can only come in the game from now on to pitch when you're, I believe it's 10 up or 8 down. Does that matter?
Yeah, it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, when is it? I mean, let's try to figure out how many times in a year that even happens and what was the circumstances when it did. It was probably similar to that anyway. So no, it doesn't matter.
All right, I'm with you on that too. All right, Super Bowl recap, a little post-mortem of the Super Bowl. By the way, you correctly picked the winner. You had KC winning the game. Good job by you. I broke my number 1 rule. That is, the team with the most Oklahoma players on the roster generally wins the big games. KC had 4, Philly had 2. Stupid, Russ. You should have remembered your number 1 rule. All right, what's your takeaway from the game?
My biggest takeaway is, obviously one of the reasons why I picked Kansas City was because of REID. I think REID had a great game plan, and my biggest takeaway, the way this team played, was their offensive line. They didn't allow 1 sack to the team, I think, that led the league in sacks in the regular season. So they obviously had a good scheme to not only protect Mahomes, but to establish the run game. Obviously, I was talking high about Pacheco. He ran the ball well. So they passed when they had to pass. They ran when they had to run. They got their first downs when they had to get the first downs. And that's because of the offensive line play. Everybody was watching the Eagles, dominate teams like the Giants and dominate, the Niners with obviously without Purdy. But, at the end of the day, Kansas City, one of the things that everyone was unsure about was the offensive line. And I think they've done a lot with that team's offensive line since the loss to Tampa Bay to today. And people still have that in their head. Mahomes running around. He didn't have to do that today.
I will say this, though. If you didn't watch the game and you just looked at the stats the next day and didn't look at the scoreboard, what the score was, Philly outperformed them the whole game. Total yards, total first downs, everything in that game. So, I mean, yeah.
Not rushing yards.
Yeah, actually, they were even in rushing. Yeah, pretty much even. Because Mahomes, Hurts had 70 yards. That's what people had. So,
yeah.
So it was pretty much a wash on the rushing yards. I think, to your point, the offensive line, no sacks by the team that led the NFL in sacks. That's your difference maker at that point in time. We got to get to the big thing, the call. It was the right call. Technically, it was the right call by rules. What I don't like about it was, and I hate to agree with Dan Orlovsky because I think he's a bonehead, but Juju did not make a fuss. Like, if a receiver is held or interfered with, they let you know first before the ref throws the flag sometimes. He didn't even make any fuss at all like he was held. So to me, it was inconsequential. It was also within 5 yards of a line of scrimmage where you could touch the player, the receiver. Bradbury admitted to it, but I hate to see the call at that point in time. You know it's the correct call. You agree?
Yeah. So I agree. Based on the rules and based on what happened and transpired, it was a hold. I also believe that the cornerback for Philly did admit that he held him, so he owned up to what he did, which I thought was good as well. My beef with it is that's not the way the refs were calling the game. So they were inconsistent. They were calling the game like they should call a Super Bowl game. They were letting some things go. They weren't being ticky-tack with their calls. And then all of a sudden, in the most important time of the game, they call that based on the way they've been calling, they shouldn't have called.
Up to that point, it was like the NBA game in the finals and the NHL in the Stanley Cup, right? They let the boys play, right?
Exactly. So that's what my biggest beef about the call was. But it was the right call. It just wasn't consistent.
PB, here's what I can say about the game overall because of that call. This game, to me, could have been one of the 3 or 4 all-time best Super Bowls if that wasn't for that call and Jalen Hurts got the ball back after Kansas City kicked the field goal with 2 minutes left as opposed to 8 seconds. I would have loved to see Jalen get the ball back one more time and go down to the finish and see what happens. At that point in time, to me, that's an all-time classic. I don't even have it in the top 5 now, even though it's the best scoring Super Bowl ever. I've got Pat's number 1 is their first Super Bowl. That's my 3rd. I've got Pat's 28-3. That's another one. I got Pat's Malcolm Butler, and I got both Cowboys Steelers Super Bowls from the 70s better than that game.
Yeah, I would agree with you. At the end of the day, when you look through 57 whatever Super Bowls that there's been so far, that I don't think makes the top 5, and it could have given how things rolled out.
Oh.
But that's the other thing too, is that this game wasn't an automatic. Everyone says, "Oh, that call cost them the game." It didn't cost them the game. Philly still would have had to get the ball and drive down in a 2-minute drill, and
Correct.
at least get field goal range to be able to kick a field goal to tie it, or potentially the touchdown to win it. But it wasn't like that was the call. Like when Minnesota and the Saints played, right? And that passing, they missed that pretty much the game.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Hey, by the way, Jalen Hurts, if he doesn't fumble that ball, if he doesn't fumble that ball, it's a 14-point game probably, right? Because they might drive down and score another touchdown and go up to 21-7. So that probably cost him the MVP because he was the best player in the field in that game, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, people don't overlook maybe is that the catch out of the backfield by Sanders that was dropped and returned for a touchdown and was a call on the field as a fumble and a touchdown. They had to have indisputable evidence to overturn that, and they did. If you look at it in fast motion, I could see why you would overturn it. But when you really look at that in slow motion, he made a catch. He turned upfield. It looked like he made a football move to me. So I think Philly got the lucky there, and Kansas City got screwed, and nobody talks about that. And the other thing that happened, that 4th and 14 play or whatever it was, or 3rd and 14, where Goddard caught the ball and he bobbled it, and they still said he had that toe down as his second foot. I'm not sure I would agree with that. And that was
I thought that was a clean catch. By the way, what an unbelievable ball by Hurts on that one. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was called a catch on the field, so that means that one's harder to overturn because of the circumstances. But yeah.
All right. Hey, by the way, the NFL is reviewing for next year in the rule book the tush push play. You know what that is?
Yeah. That's when the rugby
play with Jalen Hurts. Yeah. I don't know, man. Let them play. If you can't stop it, then
that used to be a rule, though. That used to be a rule in the past.
You couldn't push the guy. Correct. You're right.
Push the guy, and then they got rid of it. They might bring that back. But...
Yeah. All right. We're gonna talk 2 legacies real quick. First of all, let's start with Andy Reid. He's now won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. He's been to 4. He's 2-2. He's moved up in the all-time wins. I believe he's 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe moved to 3rd. I know he passed Tom Landry. Does he have potential to surpass Belichick as the GOAT?
He never won a Super Bowl with Philly, right?
No, he's only won with KC. He lost. He lost 1 with KC. He lost 1 to Philly, and he's won 2 with KC.
Yeah.
But he's been to 2 with 2 different teams. Is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, and there's still, he's still got some tread on the tires too. Let's see how long he stays in the NFL and what else he does down the stretch here. But if they both retired today, of course, no. But how many years does Belichick have left? Right.
That's right. Hey, by the way, sneaky news: Bieniemy left, went to the Washington Commanders. And the dirt's coming out that he didn't get enough credit, apparently. Andy was still calling the plays. Is that going to hurt Andy a little bit when he tries to bring in another offensive coordinator?
I don't know. I like Andy's history in terms of his coaching tree.
Yeah.
Unlike Belichick. So I think that, you see a lot of these teams losing their coordinators. Philly lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator.
That one blew my mind.
And when you don't have an experienced coach, right? Like Sirianni, now being thrown into that situation, that could spell disaster. I mean, Philly might not be good next year, right? They might not.
They've got 8 key free agents that all were starters. They can't retain them all, especially because Hurts is up for a contract.
They could have a Super Bowl hangover and lose, not even make the playoffs next year. I think Reid, given his history, given his coaching tree, given his experience in the NFL, will bode much better with a new coordinator than a team like Philly will. So I'm not worried about KC. I would be worried about Philly.
All right, let's talk about the other legacy here, because it was talked about all week long. Patrick Mahomes, everybody's considers him one of the all-time greats already at this point in time, 6 years in the league. He needed that second win, obviously. Now he's one of a few guys with multiple wins. I think there's only 7 guys with 2 or more wins at quarterback. But he's 6 years in. He's 27 years old. PB, they only win 1 Super Bowl every 3 years. If you do the math, that means he needs 15 more years to catch Brady. He'll be 42. And stand up for a second. I want you to stand up for 1 second. Stand up.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mahomes' body. Do you think he can play to 42 with that body? I don't know. I just don't know. But no, seriously. So you tell me, do you think he has a shot to get 7?
Right. And the other thing you have to keep in mind here is, the path to the Super Bowl in the AFC. I think if Mahomes was in the NFC right now and he was up against, guys like, who's going to be there at the end of the day? Dak Prescott for the Cowboys. We think Hurts is going to be around, but we'll see. Kirk Cousins. Who are you really playing up against to get there to the big game? He could make the Super Bowl every year. But he's in the path of the AFC. These young kids, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. We're talking about him. It's tough to get there in the AFC year in and year out. So, given that, I would say I don't think he touches 7, but I could see him winning 4 or 5.
4 or even 5, huh? Really? That's a lot, man. I don't know. We'll see. With free agency and everything, we'll see. I don't know, but he's got to win at least 3 to get me to really. I know he's had unbelievable 5 years. Better get at least 3, in my opinion. All right. So overall, football is over. Let's talk about NBA real quick. PB, All-Star Weekend tonight is the NBA Slam Dunk Contest. Do you remember the days when you had people like Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter in the dunk contest? That was what you want to see, right?
Yeah.
And now, listen to this. You've got guys named KJ Martin, Mac McClung, who's coming from the G League, Trey Murphy, and Jericho Sims. I know none of these guys. Do you?
No.
Where's Zion? Where's Giannis? Where's even LeBron, for crying out loud? He put on a better show than this. It's disgusting. All right. Real quick, we're running up on the clock here. Trade deadline. All right, we made jokes last week about the trade deadline trying to keep themselves relevant when the Super Bowl was going on. But from a trade deadline perspective, in the NBA, looking forward. And by the way, we're not at the midseason. Don't call this the midseason break. The Celtics have 41 wins. It's an 82-game season. That's a midseason, but they also have 17 losses. It's not the midseason, you idiots. All right, I digress. Trade deadline. Did any of the trades that get made make somebody a much more credible team for a run to the finals?
Yeah, I'm gonna put Phoenix at the top of that list. Getting KD. They have a little bit of a cross to bear, I think, with their season last year. Right, they were the best team in the NBA by far, number 1 seed overall, and they lost in the second round to Dallas 4-3. So everyone was expecting that team. I think you and I both picked them to at least make the finals. Yeah, so I think they want to get back, to the conference final. And right now they're sitting as a 5 seed. So they'll hold on to that, maybe get better. But I think the NBA is turning into the NHL in the sense that it almost doesn't matter where the seeding is. It used to be like your top 2 seeds would basically be in the conference finals.
Good point. But
now you're getting 6 and 7 seeds that compete and things like that. So as long as Phoenix stays in there, it'd be nice to get a 4. Get an extra series at home, but I do like that move.
By the way, my one problem with that rule though is that they have no bench strength. They literally are a 5-team roster right now. The 2 guys that they got rid of were key contributors. I think two of them were one of them was at least a starter, maybe both of them were. So they are now 5 and done. Like if one guy fouls out, they're done.
Yeah. They might have to figure out a way to load manage that, but they also need to hang on to their seed. So we'll see where that goes. How about Utah? Utah getting Russell Westbrook. I think that's a big move. They're a half game out of a playoff right now. But they're only
they're gonna buy him out. The rumors are he's gonna be bought out and he's gonna go to the Clippers or he's gonna go to God, I'm drawing a blank on the other team. The Clippers seem like most likely where he's gonna go.
Oh,
but
okay.
supposedly Utah doesn't want him.
Oh, well, okay. All right. Well, that'd be interesting. I mean, because they're only 2 games out of the 6th seed, and they could easily make a move here down the stretch and put themselves in contention. So surprised by that. I'm not a fan of Kyrie going to Dallas. Obviously, I'm not a fan of Kyrie to begin with. And now he goes to Dallas. And, how is the chemistry going to blend? You got Luka there, you got Hardaway there, you got Green there. I mean, there's players on that offense right now. Are they going to gel? Is there going to be chemistry there? And right now,
and now they're going to play defense. We all know Luka can't play defense,
right? And this team's only 2 games over 500. I know they're like a 6 seed or something like that right now, but man, I don't know. So I'm gonna. It's tough right now. I think people made moves though to win this year, and I got to give Phoenix the nod there. That's all.
The Lakers had some pretty good talent for what they needed to fit in their proper roles, but I'll tell you, the sneaky one to me. Jay Crowder's a sneaky one. That's a sneaky one going to the Bucks. He hasn't played all year, but if he gets a little bit of in shape and condition, that's a sneaky one. The other one is this kid, Mike Muscala, that went from Oklahoma to the Celtics, 6'10". He's already making a difference in a couple of games. He had 4 3-pointers the other night. So right now, if I was to pick, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this real quick. 4 favorites going to the conference finals and then the NBA finals. In the East, to me, it's Celtics, Bucks, Sixers. And then my sneaky 4th team, your new home team. Oh, this is the place. Russell Westbrook might go to the Miami Heat. That's the other room.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, and the Heat could turn it on in the playoffs. I could see them making some, causing some problems in the playoffs for sure.
On the West, the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic deserves some credit for once. He's a 2-time NBA champion. MVP. No one wants to give him credit. They all want someone else to be the MVP this year. The guy continues. He's averaging a triple-double, and Denver is the best team in the West right now by 5 games.
Yeah, they're only like a half game behind the Celtics. Hopefully, they don't pull a Phoenix and get the best record in the NBA and then lose in the second round. But, yeah, I do like Denver.
And by the way, I'm with you. I think the Suns do move up, but they probably end up in the conference finals. I got them as 2. I got the Grizz hanging around in 3rd. And the sneaky one to me, the other team that Westbrook might go to is the Clippers. I think they're starting to be healthy for once with Kawhi and Paul George. So those are my 4 to consider in the West at this point in time. Anything you want to add?
No, I like that. I do like Memphis. I think Memphis is a potential to be in the conference finals this year. Hopefully against Denver. I think that'll be the best matchup. But Ja Morant's very quickly becoming my favorite player in the NBA.
I want to see him in the finals just because of that, right?
I think he's unbelievable.
I go to bed at 8:30. I will stay up to watch Ja Morant against the Celtics.
Yeah, great player.
Nice. All right, man. Good show. Have fun watching your favorite, the Left Turn Invitational. I'll talk to you soon.